Okay, good. So welcome to the Daily Fantasy NFL show, I guess, or football show, or October show. I don't know. October Mondays are going to be just kind of off the wall, basically like all of our other shows. But this time we've got Davis Maddock, who's doing the um, animal impersonations, I guess.
No. Animal comparisons.
Animal comparisons.
You can impersonate the weird ones.
Oh, yeah, Renee, we need to have you do comparisons.
No, David said he knew mine, and it was really mean, and I opted out because I don't need people to say mean things to me.
Yeah, you don't want to hear it. He told us
people say mean things to me anyways.
Once the feed ended,
I don't have to solicit it.
he told us, and you don't want to know.
Thank you.
I'm joking. He didn't say anything.
So kind of like a blah day yesterday with all of the injuries.
It wasn't that bad.
It really wasn't.
It was if you had Jennings, Bush, and Graham in your FanDuel lineup.
A lot of people did, too.
My
I had a
Jennings-
little bit of Reggie Bush, but I had 0 Graham and 0 Jennings.
Well,
I only played GPPs, so... How do you think about that, Dave?
I'm jealous of you guys because my 3 running backs were DeMarco Murray, Jennings, and Reggie Bush. Those were
I just
three.
meant because you always bash me for it. But,
Oh, GPPs.
hey,
you're-
days like yesterday, it justifies it.
You're
But then
Mr.
other days it
GPP.
doesn't.
You're Mr. GPP, Dave.
Only football.
But that is like
I mean, TBH, my day probably would have not been great if I
Hold
didn't
on,
do
hold
so well in
on,
the
hold
million
on, hold
maker.
on. Backpedal for a second. Did you just say TBH? Actually initialized TBH?
Yeah, duh.
that's what he does.
Oof. That's great. LOL, my friend.
LOL, there you go. So you get it, Laffy.
I get it. I just prefer not to. Yeah, Davis had you only put like 10 lineups into the Millionaire Maker, and you put one up there in the 200 range, right?
No, I'm in 46th right now with one of them.
No, how many points?
Oh, yeah, something like that. I don't know. I was at the game, so I don't even know which team it is.
Would you lose your voice at the game?
Oh, yeah. I have, like,
I
no
can tell.
voice at all.
I got a
That's
180.
so awesome.
I got a 186 with Marshawn Lynch to go. So there's some
Nice.
potential there. There's
Nice.
potential
That is
that
pretty
that'll at least put me up somewhere. But I'm not. Nothing that I was looking for. Granted, I had 50 lineups, so it's not really saying much. I'm cashing in a bunch of them, just nothing. When you have 92,000 entries, didn't one guy have like 1,300, Davis?
Mark
12
Genorex.
something he ended
Yeah.
up with. Mark Genorex.
That's pretty incredible.
That's unreal.
Were they
But
all
I,
unique entries?
I only saw one in the top 100. Because I was looking through for my article this morning.
Right. Ooh. Well, by
That's harsh.
unique, were they all different? Did he put in like 1,200 different lineups?
I didn't look at them all, but I don't know.
Yes.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
So he started the day they released the contest. Then
Oh yeah, he had been doing them like from the get go.
you have to. Just to do 50 of them, on and off, it took me a long time.
Yeah.
I know Tuttle had like 97 of them.
I had like 10, and it took me. I mean, when you're thinking about like having to differentiate from something you already like, I'm just
Dude, if he doesn't have a Phillip Rivers, Brandon Oliver team, he did it wrong.
Yeah, Brandon Oliver's $5,500 already on DraftKings, and so is Andre Williams.
Sure, but Andre Ellington's 5,100.
I know, trust me, I've been talking about that. He's my guy, Davis. You should know that.
Did you
by
guys
now.
talk about it, or did someone tweet that Justin Forsett is higher than LaShawn McCoy this week?
Wow.
I talked
Okay.
about it last night on DKTV.
McCoy looks terrible.
Yeah, I'm not even going to
it's
use him on
bad.
any of my teams next week.
He's so indecisive that he loses 10 yards and then fumbles because he's dancing around. And then when there is a hole, he doesn't get upright and actually take off. He stays crouched down like he's still trying to make moves when nobody's there. It's hard. It's really tough to watch that right now. But at 6,000 in the Millionaire Maker, you'd be silly not to throw him in a couple lineups against a divisional rival at home.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't even.
There's no
started- I haven't
cash
even-
game play.
I haven't even looked at the schedule for next week at all. I have no idea who plays who.
Ellington at 5,100 though is a steal just because he's. Did you see that 81-yard touchdown?
No,
I
I was
did.
driving to the game.
It
His
was
breakaway speed is incredible.
It was an even better throw, though. I
A
thought.
lot, it was lucky, but it worked.
Thread the
Ma-
needle between two guys, and
I
he
know
just
it
kind of
was
took
nice.
off.
That window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also
Logan Thomas,
after the catch was made, you didn't think that there was going to be any yards after the catch because it looked like they blanketed him, and then he just squirts out and takes off.
Davis, do
Can
you
I-
remember Logan Thomas
Yeah, I know about Logan Thomas.
from Virginia Tech?
Mhm.
He was the quarterback yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I was following on Twitter. Can I just take a moment and say that before the season started, you guys remember how Andre Ellington had that foot injury and we thought he was maybe going to be out for a couple weeks?
Yeah, you were talking about being Liz Frank.
I never said that.
Yeah, you did. You
But
said it-
Dan, our co-founder, Dan Gaspar, was like, oh my God, Davis, they still have the unders available for Andre Ellington's rushing yards at 950. And I was like, what, Dan, are you serious? So I ran over to Bovada and put some money down on the under, not looking like that bet is going to come to fruition right
Davis, you said I remember specifically you saying that it reminded you a lot of the
Le'Veon Bell thing. It did.
Liz Frank injury.
It did. I never said he had a Liz Frank. but
I
it
never
did
said you
remind me
did
of that.
say it.
That's okay.
I can't
Dan-
believe.
I made Dan and I draft him in our FFPC or whatever it is league. That Dave, you'd be happy to know that we're winning, buddy. After a rough start, we're winning. We're back on track.
Did Tuttle actually submit a starting lineup?
No, I did because
Oh.
if I don't, he'll just tell me that it was on me. Laffy didn't submit a lineup. Dan, I gave you the password. Well, he told me that I'll draft a team, but from after there, it's on you. Like that's an awesome co-manager right there. So
I mean, what do you expect?
it doesn't matter, dude. It wasn't like it wasn't like we're laying a couple grand down. But I just found it funny that anytime something bad would go wrong, I get a message from like, hey, good job doing this.
Classic Dan Gaspar.
Oh yeah, good,
Just like
good job doing this, Laffy. But it's like, dude, you just went on to look at our team. You typed our password and our username, and you're staring at our roster. You have access to it, but it's my fault because you got on at Sunday after 1:00.
It is classic Tuttle. If
Is he watching right now?
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's going
He's
to.
defending himself in chat.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. He's going.
No,
to
he
be-
did. Look, he did tell me. I'll give him this. He did say, like, look, once we draft, it's on you. I didn't expect it to be like, all right, we draft, and then I never open the web page up again until I want to see if you screwed up.
Until I can criticize what you did.
Right.
The best partner.
Dan. Like whenever you mess up, it's typically unless it's a really bad mess up, Dan will just make fun of you in front of everybody for
Yep.
it.
And that's his way of being like, hey, don't do this again.
That's
Right,
effective.
like the best example, Davis, is with your articles. Like
Oh.
even when you were on the medication, like you're like, all right, I think it's good, and you submit it, and you know that 2
Dan will
seconds
just-
later,
Dan will just-
an
he'll just
Evernote,
copy and paste something.
link is going to pop up, and he's going to say Davis ... Good start.
Or he'll just say, well,
Yeah.
Well, one time, what was it? Your last name, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely messed up his last name.
When you spelled your last name.
But there is
and then one time, I forgot to
You
change.
spelled your own last name wrong?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
But
was
then he
super
put
high
that
on
it was
pain pills.
yeah. You talk about the time when you put someone else's name,
But this
like
was-
someone else's Twitter handle.
This was after Davis said like he read through it 3 times,
Yeah.
and then
Thought it was good.
all Dan replies back with is a screenshot of his last name misspelled. But that is like there's 100% chance that Kai like will have to wear something embarrassing with like a sign that says I didn't clean my room, something like
Like
that.
they do down south for guys that go to like for offenders. Like I stole from an old lady, and they make him sit out on a park bench with the sign all day. That will be
Right.
Dan with his own
Right.
kid. That'll be
man.
Dan,
All right.
and he'll never let you forget it.
Oh no, that stuff is in the Tuttle archive, and that vault is sealed. Nothing is getting out. Nothing is getting out of that. All right, good start to the talk. Renee, I'm going to let you take over and try to have some sort of effective conversation. It's actually like starting to hail where I'm at. So,
You're joking.
yeah, Renee, I'm not sure why you're.
I know. I just looked out my window. I'm 2,000 miles north of you.
I don't know why you looked out the window.
But I'm compelled to look carefully out my window. It's not hailing here.
Okay.
It rained at the game yesterday, pretty hard. So that was
I don't know why you guys are trying to one up me. I'm just saying that it's hailing, so I may have to take cover, and the stream might get cut off at some point. So, anyways,
Is it really hailing?
yeah, Dave, you want to look outside to see if it's hailing where you are?
All right, guy.
Yeah,
All right.
guy. Come on, guy.
Come on, fella. All right, take it away, Renee.
All right. Thanks. So I was going to allow some time for a new segment that I was just going to call blah, 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 700 yards, blah, 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 before we talk about real football. If you guys want to do that. Davis, are you up for that? Do you want to? I know Lockie mentioned.
Is that the college football segment?
Yeah, that's the college.
So I get the impression that this would be a one-time segment unless blah blah goes for another 700 yards next week. Blah blah.
Somebody does that really well every year.
Well, Connor Holiday broke the record for total yards from scrimmage, so
Did
it doesn't
he?
happen like all the time. Yeah, he
Did he? Well, doesn't he? I mean, I always read Ben's article, and in the article, he made it very clear and concise. He said if someone's throwing 65 times a game, they should be in your lineup, and unless it's a combination of Geno Smith and Mike Vick. But that was pretty incredible. That what was it, 734?
It was a lot. I don't know
It was
exactly how much. It was a lot.
With 48 touchdowns. Yeah,
I
crazy.
think it was 47 touchdowns.
47.
I don't know. It was a lot. It was crazy. Like, he was like way under-owned on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he was like 75%. And my second quarterback was Brent Hundley, so it wasn't enough to save me.
Yeah, dude, I obviously know nothing about college football, so you'll give me some. You'll help me out. Ben, Jordan will help me out. My late night was like a 305. Now I don't know what scoring is, how well it works in college, but 305 is like basketball scores. And when you equate that to the NFL, where the top scorer in the Millionaire Maker is like 235 right now, and that rarely happens on DraftKings.
Yeah.
The scoring, what's an average score, GPP score, like winner from college football each week?
You'll never see anyone win a GPP with like less than 200 something, and normally it's way higher than that. And well, the thing is basically if every single one of your running backs, wide receivers, and your flex slot doesn't get the 100-yard bonus, you might not even cash in double ups.
Really?
You have to nail, because so many guys are putting up video game numbers every single week, just the way matchups work out. So you have to get those bonuses for all your guys, and that on DraftKings that really pads the scoring.
They love their bonuses.
Yeah, they definitely do. But I know that like Dan Bach last weekend, he scored 2 weekends ago, he scored like 350 because it was like the best lineup I've ever seen. It might even been 380. His lineup was like completely insane. He had like 30 touchdowns in his lineup. It's just nuts.
Yeah, that's wild. Those are basketball lineup numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like
October 28th.
I can't wait, man.
So excited.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be a good day.
What else you got on store for us, Renee?
Are we done with that? I thought I was going to get to tune out for a little longer.
No.
I'm not sure there's much more to talk about.
Yeah, no, I thought you did a really nice job on the podcast this morning, shouting out Jordan and Ben for their great advice and saying, like, it sounded a little bit like you're in a similar position as me. I just haven't taken the leap yet to just, do what they say to do. And
I just put money down and cross my fingers that they know what they're talking about.
Also, I mean, my EPL teams did pretty well, but like, whatever.
You have this newfound obsession with
blah blah. That's blah blah.
That's totally blah blah.
Save that for a day I'm not on the show.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding, bud.
That's the soliloquy. All right,
we can talk about real football though.
Let's talk about real football. I will just go right on the record saying that although I have a bunch of lineups that are doing pretty well, I made a lot more bad calls than good calls this week in my public article, the one I write about value plays on FanDuel. did a terrible job there. So let's go around and talk about some of our good and bad calls that we made this week.
All right.
Let's do good first, because
Sure. I'll give you a good one. Andre Ellington was one of my top guys. Brian Quick. Let me throw out a little bit of Kenny Britt, too. Felt good about that one.
Laffy had that one because he had the BVP versus the Eagles.
That was just messing with you.
Yeah.
But I just figured that Kenny Britt is still a talented wide receiver.
He's just an idiot.
He just likes to get into a lot of legal trouble and then get injured shortly thereafter. And now he doesn't really have a quarterback. But, Kenny Britt was one. And Kyrie Robinson finally showed up. That was kind of important, but it took overtime. What do you got, Davis?
I mean, most of my picks did pretty well. My article, I had Luck as my quarterback with Breeze, who was fine. I had the 3 running backs everyone wrote about, DeMarco, Le'Veon, and Jennings. My wide receivers were Brian Quick, Demaryius Thomas, Antonio Brown, and tight ends were Kelsey and Julius Thomas.
Kelsey was kind of a letdown.
Yeah, Kelsey actually, I was incredibly surprised that he scored that touchdown, and then Anthony Mazzano, Andy Reid's just a fucking idiot. It's insane.
He's so dumb, man. He really, I'm telling you, I watched him for years. Everyone touts him as this awesome coach. His problem is that if he gets the lead, you can, if he gets the lead, say Kelsey, or if they have a good lead and the opposition isn't really doing much, they're going to be fine, but he can't adjust the game plan. He can't adjust the game after halftime, and it ends up killing the team because he doesn't know how to make those proper adjustments, and then, guys that should benefit from it don't because he has no idea what he's doing in those situations. I can't stand it. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm biased against him, though, David.
Well, and you know what's crazy is that he seems to forget all that stuff when Jamal Charles is out of the lineup. He's just like, cool.
Give
here you
Niall
go, Niall.
Davis 49 carries.
Yeah, here's the ball, Niall. And then when Charles gets back in, it's like he has too much talent and he doesn't know what to do with it. It's
how many touches did Charles have yesterday?
I don't know how many total he had. He only had 5 in the second half, though.
Yeah, which is just pathetic. Well, here's the thing with Andy Reid. If something isn't working, if the run game, and this is something about Reid that everyone's known for a long time, if the run game isn't working, he entirely abandons it.
Yeah.
He actually said once in an interview that he wouldn't run the ball if he didn't have to. So, gives you a pretty good idea of what type of coach he is.
Yeah, and I mean, also the thing is, I had a point here, and I think I might have lost it.
Andy Reid.
No, it's gone. Guys, I'm running on so little sleep right now.
Yeah, I can tell.
I can't talk. Also, a weird thing after going to a playoff game, all of your adrenaline and stuff is gone. So the next day, you're just your brain is just trying to repopulate chemicals because you have nothing left.
Was that your first playoff baseball game ever that you've been to?
Well, I went to the one on Tuesday.
No, I know. I'm saying this series.
Yeah. This series, the game against the A's, and this one was
it's incredible,
the only playoff game I've ever been to.
Really, of any sport?
Of any sport, yeah, because
you're
Cowboys,
in Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah, the Cowboys haven't been to the playoffs, so I haven't had a reason. And then Oklahoma City tickets are too expensive.
Yeah. Wow. So, I'm glad you got to enjoy that. It's an awesome time, and you won.
Both times. That's so awesome. So excited.
Oh, it's the
and
team
I like that you just tried to use. You just tried to use neuroscience. I heard it, Davis. I'm impressed.
I took a psychology class.
That's not the same.
I think it is actually the same thing.
Okay.
If you want
to argue with me about that?
If you give me a week of reading a neuroscience book, I'd begin to tell you how to do your job because that's what I do.
Okay.
Where's Tuttle for this?
You're on. Next Monday we'll have neuroscience off.
Okay, cool.
I'll submit questions. I'll ask you questions.
Yeah.
Right. That's where Tuttle always gets you, Davis, with the EPL.
Yeah, Tuttle will just be like, oh, really?
Davis read an article last night. Mm-hmm. Guys, ask Davis questions.
He needles me so good. Him and Ben needle me so good all the time.
Good times. Bad plays, Davis.
Yeah.
I didn't get a good play. Wait, I did have a couple.
Renee, you kind of just bail out on it. I don't know.
No.
I know. I started by saying I had more bad than good, but I had good ones.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think Julius Thomas was probably my best play. I started my whole PFF article around that's how I was building most of my lineups at tight end. I wrote another article about fading Kelsey. That, he wasn't terrible, especially at DraftKings, but like you guys were just saying, he didn't give people what they were hoping for, and he was so high owned. So Julius Thomas
Jenkins was even worse at minimum salary.
That's
on
yeah, but he was questionable. I wasn't on him at all.
I was not on him. I
wasn't on him at all.
Well, the thing is, though, that it was at minimum salary in a millionaire maker where Kelsey's going to be highly owned. He wasn't necessarily a bad play, and he was targeted twice early in the game, both of which he dropped. And I believe he was on the field for almost every offensive play, if not every offensive play.
Yeah, he's just not as good as Kelsey is the problem.
No, I'm not saying he is, and neither is the quarterback. But, yeah.
And then Mike Glennon, again, he was one, my value quarterback. He does what he does. And
Austin Davis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Austin Davis.
That was a nice one. I put him in the write-up.
Did you? Good.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, that is
why wouldn't you put him in the write-up against a terrible defense that doesn't even try to run the clock out when they're up by 13 points with 8 minutes left in the game? So stupid.
Bro.
Oh, dude. I'm not even happy about that win. That was pathetic. Granted, the Cowboys the Cowboys were essentially just as bad, except it was in the first half of the game against the Rams. But still, it's just...
Yeah, Drew just made a good point in chat. People got to chill with the Blake Bortles, man. He's a rookie quarterback, and he played in... what conference is UCF in? It's not a Power 5 conference, This time last year, he was throwing passes against Rutgers. Like, I know the Steelers suck, but, like, Bortles is going to be a good fantasy quarterback this year based off volume, but he's going to have terrible games.
I don't think he's even going to be a good fantasy quarterback, to be completely honest with you. I think he'll finish with very subpar numbers overall.
He'll be okay for seasonal.
Maybe. My thing is, though, they have no run game. They're still the Jaguars. And you're saying volume in the sense that they're going to be behind a lot. I understand.
And they don't have a running game, so he's going to throw 50 times a game.
Sure. But I guess sometimes volume, in my opinion, volume doesn't always equate to quality fantasy numbers.
Yeah, I also think...
No, you could throw a lot of interceptions in garbage time, too.
Oh, like Drew Brees?
Yeah, a lot.
Mike Clay is going to be on the road of his podcast tonight, and I'm going to grill him about Drew Brees.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna have him explain to me why Drew Brees sucks.
Yeah.
I'm also just gonna yell at him about wide receiver height for like 10 minutes and ask him why it's not in his touchdown prediction metric.
It's actually kind of funny. I saw people recommending Geno Smith as a contrarian play. Now, even there's a difference between contrarian and insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Austin Davis is contrarian. Geno Smith this week was
insane.
Yeah. It's a difference that people don't appreciate. Like when people say stuff on Twitter all the time, well, you can justify any player in a GPP. I guess, but if that's how you're building your GPP, you're doing it wrong. If you have to come up with some fairy tale about how the player is going to be good for the first time in his life, I think you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Well,
a lot of guys.
Geno Smith has had a couple decent games.
Well, if you just want to look at the Millionaire Maker as an example, I think the biggest contrarian play is just paying up for good players,
using Peyton Manning.
Yeah, my best team had Peyton Manning in it.
Same with mine.
And that's a contrarian play because people are going to be like, oh, well, I can just play Phillip Rivers for 7,000, but just getting a tournament team together with the studliest players, even if the matchup's not super optimal, I feel like is sort of the best contrarian route to take.
Yeah, sure. Not all high-priced guys are worth it, but when they're Peyton Manning level, then absolutely. Some of them are high-priced, but they're just not good plays. I don't know. It's tough with the Millionaire Maker, though, strictly because, there's going to be 92,000 other entries in there.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's a problem I'm having right now is if DraftKings is just gonna do this tournament every single week, I'm just gonna start ignoring it in my write-ups. I'm just.
You have to, yeah.
I'm gonna I wrote my write-up this week, sort of focusing on DraftKings prices, looking at the guys who are underpriced there. But if this is gonna be an every week thing, then I'm just gonna ignore it and write my articles.
Yeah, if it's status quo in the industry now, if it becomes a regular, then there was no point. There used to be all those big there used to be tournaments with football where it was once or twice a season, usually in the beginning and the end. But like you're saying, if it's going to be every single Sunday, what's the point? That's what the industry's becoming now.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
I'm curious how this next week goes. If they fill it again, I'm really curious.
It's gonna fill.
If
I would
it fills
imagine
again, then they're going to
it.
do it every week because why wouldn't they?
That's my point. Why there's no.
But I'm curious if it will. I feel like a lot of people put in a lot more lineups than they would have if they had known it was going to be every week.
I agree with that. But you also consider the amount of marketing they're doing if they're going to be able to acquire more new players to get in on this.
Sure.
The marketing they did leading up to this was insane.
Yeah, and it gets even better if they show the guy with the check with the $1 million. This just happened.
How many lineups did Pete have in there? You're the one that interviewed him, Renee.
I interviewed him Friday night.
Old bluefin tuna face. I don't know. Probably a lot.
Wait, what?
That's Peter's animal comp is a bluefin tuna.
Oh.
I watch Wicked Tuna on National Geographic. Pretty
So you
good
have
show.
a better idea what that looks like.
Oh yeah, bluefin tuna are pretty majestic creatures. If I must
They're
say
also
so.
super expensive as fish because that's what sushi is like. Really good sushi is made out of.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. You could have a bluefin go for $20,000.
The world's most expensive
I need
fish
like a FaceTime
was a
picture.
the world's most expensive fish was a bluefin tuna that weighed like 453 pounds and went for like a couple $1 million.
Wow.
Couple mil.
Couple mil.
That is not accurate.
I promise you.
You can link me to that later.
I'll link it to you right now.
There are like 1,100-pound tunas out there that go for. Was it like did it have 3 eyes or what
No,
was so
man.
special about it? Had a long wiener?
No, dude, it's just like it was.
Oh
a
my
huge
God!
fish.
1.76 million in Japan.
Get out of here,
Dude, do not question me.
Approximately 1.8 million
Davis.
US dollars.
I know a pretty good amount about the bluefin tuna, but
Listen, I'm not questioning your bluefin tuna knowledge, but I'm just saying.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Now I
That's-
want some.
that's-
My biggest regret is that I didn't take notes on last week's animal comps because I don't remember them.
My biggest
I'm really
regret for
sad.
this last week is not taking my own advice and not having DeMarco Murray. Like, just I know that when the news broke that Joik was going to be out and that Theo Riddick was going to be out, like Bush became more attractive. But like DeMarco's just so good, and like I could have just played cheap wide receivers, and I had a bunch of cheap wide receivers I like this week, and like that was a big problem that I on FanDuel I split lineups. I played 2 cash lineups, and in one of them I didn't have DeMarco, and that was just dumb. While they're giving him the ball 30 times a week, you got to just keep using him.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing when somebody gets hurt, everybody runs to the guy who's going to be the beneficiary. And we've seen more times than not this season, it doesn't pan out. Donald Brown, for example, did not pan out. Reggie Bush didn't pan out. A lot of these guys that are filling in for injured players that sound, yeah, Joe, I was just about to say what Joe Marino said, that going for that 100 or fifth straight 100-yard rushing game or 6th straight 100-yard rushing game to break a record is not going to happen this week in Seattle. Not going to happen, no chance.
So I would say one of my worst calls, and I didn't say it too much publicly, but used it in a few lineups, was any part of the Steelers. I had some Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown lineups that sucked. Pretty bad.
Like Antonio Brown is always fine for cash because he's always going to get his 5 for 50, and then Le'Veon is the same thing. Like Le'Veon had
10
a
points
bad.
is not what you pay for Antonio Brown.
I mean, I would never roster Antonio Brown anyways, but that's besides the point.
We know.
You would never what?
I would never roster Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, Randall Cobb, we know.
Yeah, especially not
Yeah.
Cobb, who's scoring.
Wait,
like
I thought
millions.
Antonio Brown was in your write-up.
He was, but he wouldn't make it on my rosters because that's not how I construct lineups.
Well, I don't see a point of playing him, spending high on him against Jacksonville anyway. I'd rather play him in a game where I know that there's going to be more opportunity. And that game ended up being relatively close, but still.
Yeah, and also everyone who's yelling at me in chat right now, just because I know something is a good idea doesn't mean that I'm like good enough at daily fantasy to overcome my own biases. Like if you're gonna give me Julio Jones and Antonio Brown at the same price point, I don't care who they're playing. I'll take Julio Jones every single time because he's better at football and he can do more stuff and he can score more points. Yeah, whatever. I like Antonio Brown is a fine play, but that doesn't mean that I have to play him. Like I could just publish my own lineups every single week, but that wouldn't do anyone any good.
Yeah, I know. You can't play everyone that you write up. I feel the same way.
But to say I would never play him.
Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I would write up anybody that I would never play. There's a scenario in which I would play everybody.
But I see what Davis is saying. No, he's a good play. I get it. He's just not. It's not in your roster construction philosophy.
Yeah, give me Brian Quick for $6,000 over Antonio Brown for $9,000 every single day of the week. Like
no, every week, or every single day of the week where they're playing the Eagles.
Yeah, when they're playing the Eagles.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think Antonio Brown was on a couple of my Millie Maker teams just because it was one of those things where he was so expensive that I think that created tournament value because people went other ways. So if he would have
had a 3 touchdown day,
salary was negligible though this week with the amount of value plays.
That's the point though, is people weren't using the expensive guys because they were using all those cheap plays. Right. Everyone was on Brandon Cooks and Kelvin Benjamin and Sammy Watkins and all those cheap guys.
Brandon Cooks right now, you can't play Brandon Cooks right now. I'm sorry. I understand that he was what?
I'm just gonna want to keep playing him too because he's getting all those targets, but his
yards per catch, Davis. We were talking about this yesterday. I understand PPR is nice. Don't get me wrong, but when you have a guy that seemingly doesn't have upside in this offense right now, which doesn't make sense, but I don't know, man. If you've calculated his yards per target per catch this year, it's like less than 7. And for a wide receiver not named Wes Welker, even Wes Welker's averaging more than that. And Wes Welker, is the kind of guy that's going to get the yards after the catch and is also going to be targeted a million times. I can't put any faith in Cooks right now. Quite frankly, I can't put faith in anybody in New Orleans right now.
Until Drew Brees looks better.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though, is their Vegas team totals are going to keep being super high, though. And so it's just going to be hard every week to be like, well, not going to play Drew Brees. Like, it's really frustrating because they're going to keep being good Vegas plays week after week after week.
Yeah, right here. Also, someone needs to let Mike Smith know that Anton Smith needs more touches.
Mike Smith is a bad coach.
It's ridiculous, but I've been saying that for a while. Mm-hmm. Hey, thanks, RPAC. I've been saying that for a while now, that he's getting... Renee, did you see that catch and run he had?
I did not.
Touchdown? I swear to God.
Watch the games. She knows.
He is so quick.
I watched some of the games, but I was with my family.
Go back and watch that play. It was his breakaway speed was unbelievable. That's why he's getting these big plays, because not only is he finding open space and not only is he getting open himself, but once he catches the ball, he's not going down. Why would you, or once he gets a couple carries, I don't know why you wouldn't at least give him a couple more looks. I'd understand if he was behind Le'Veon Bell or DeMarco Murray that you want to use him as a change of pace back. But you're on a team where Steven Jackson's 400 years old. Jacquizz Rodgers isn't good. Davis, what do you make of that? It's insane to me that you wouldn't at least give him an opportunity where there's no other quality options in that run game.
Coaches are just bad at their jobs, dude.
So often.
Honestly, if I was as bad at my job as most NFL coaches are, Dan and Dave would fire me and move on. Like, NFL coaches are so tremendously terrible at decision making, at personnel choices. Like, they just, almost everything they do is correctable, and yet it's amazing to me. And if anyone's read Fantasy Douche's book Game Plan, it's a really easy explanation as to why that is. The pool of available employees for coaches is like 5,000 people in the whole world. because only former football players get hired to be football coaches, or people who've been in football their whole lives, which is just
not only
Right,
former
families,
football players.
members, sons, brothers.
yeah. But I mean, a majority.
Yeah.
Have you seen Andy Reid's skills competition when he was 13? You haven't seen that?
I feel like I did see that.
Oh my God. He's easily like 300 pounds heavier than every kid out there. He looks like a grown man.
Like
with
the pass
6-year-old.
punt.
Just look at it. Just look at Andy Reid, 13 years old. It'll blow your mind. And then these kids are throwing like 10-yard passes. He goes and drops one like 70 yards. It's ridiculous.
So speaking of bad coaching, yeah, it's from a few years ago. I've seen it. I wanted to just talk about the Bills for a minute because Kyle Orton.
Victory cigar.
God, yeah. So I live in upstate New York where there's a ton of Bills fans, and got into a little bit with Leone on Twitter yesterday, but the fact that they're choosing between Kyle Orton and EJ Manuel is perfect evidence of this bad coaching, bad decision-making process that we're talking about. But Buffalo does this thing. Buffalo fans do this thing, and probably fans of all teams do. I don't really know because I'm not a fan of any one team. Where it's
any
like
sport?
No, not really.
I mean, not
What? How?
Because I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't want to say. I don't know. I just don't. No one
Wow.
team.
I wouldn't be able to survive without having.
Were your parents not fans of any teams?
No, my parents are huge Yankees and Bills fans.
Oh, well, if those are your options, then I don't blame you.
Well, I live in New York.
Oh, Yankees, dude. I mean, if
Yeah,
I
they've
were
had a good run. I don't mind the Yankees.
a good run, they've had like an incredible. If I lived
right
in New
for my
York,
whole life, basically, they've been a good team to
Right.
be a fan of.
right?
But yeah, I don't know. I pick, if I'm watching a game, I pick a side to root for, but like it's a different side every week, every sport.
Right.
I enjoy it just as much, I think. Maybe not just as much, but is enough, clearly. So Bills fans do this thing where they, Kyle Orton is now God. He's going to save the team. They're talking about playoffs. They're talking about winning the division.
Well, they still might win the division because that division is so bad.
Patriots will easily
The
win.
Bills
that
are
division.
not going to win this division. Kyle
Patriots
Orton
will
is
easily
not
win that division.
Going to be
I
good.
don't know. Tom Brady is
They
still
will-
Tom Brady will go as Gronk goes. Like if Gronk gets banged up again, Patriots might lose every game the rest of the season because Brady can't do anything when Gronk's not out there.
I'm not sure that's necessarily the case, to be honest with you. I think that
It is not a coincidence that in the game where Gronk played the most snaps, Brady had his best game.
yes, it is.
Exactly. No,
Yes,
it
Yes,
Lobby,
is
that's
not
how
a
football
coincidence
works.
at all.
That Davis, I understand that's not how football works, but that's not my point. That game had so much more to do with the game planning than just Gronkowski. Tim Wright's emergence had a ton to do with it. There was so much more in that game. The defense was incredible. Yeah, Gronkowski had a big game, but he didn't do anything ridiculous.
No,
Yes,
just the
and
fact that-
their
just the fact
O
that
line.
Gronkowski is out there.
And-
Gronkowski is also the best run blocking tight end in football.
I get it, but there was so much. They were such a defective team. Sure, Gronkowski had a lot to do with it, but they were at home after being embarrassed by Kansas City. Prideful team with Belichick and Brady are not going to lose that game. Their defense was on fire. The offensive line was incredible. He had all the time he needed in the pocket. What keeps Brady and the Patriots winning is when Brady doesn't get touched.
Yeah,
Brady-
pass blocking has to do with it, but I completely am not relenting on my stance that he's nothing without Gronkowski. And every stat will show that too. Like their
Yeah,
win
sure,
loss record without
Gronkowski has-
Gronkowski, his adjusted yards per attempt when Gronkowski's on the field and when he's not.
Yeah, and like 36% of his touchdowns since Gronkowski started playing with Brady are to Gronkowski. Don't get me wrong, Davis. I understand what you're saying. And I agree that he had a huge role in that win. What I'm also saying is that there was so much more to do with that win than just Gronkowski playing more snaps.
Yeah. And like I don't know, like I
No,
also
the whole
think,
team did play better, but really the
Yeah.
Patriots do go the way of Gronkowski.
and that's been the case since his rookie season too. Like it's just sort of because Gronkowski is probably, when healthy, he's the best player in the NFL. I would say, like non-quarterback category. I would take him over. I would take him over Demaryius and Calvin probably because what he does as a run blocker matters more than what those two do as a run blocker.
It's not intuition, Tuttle. It's common sense, Chief.
Oh,
But
those are different things.
Those are different things.
very
It's
different.
neuroscience.
It's not not intuition.
We'll have a quiz.
But Tim Wright, what do you think? Minimum salary on DraftKings coming up this week?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play that much was the thing. Like he got his looks, but it's like the Kelsey thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's like he's not going to play that much, so he's got to score a touchdown. Like I'm going to keep living and dying with Kelsey because he tweeted at me. But like I don't know. I also don't think Tim Wright's as good of a player as him either. Is a thing.
I don't think he's as good. No, of course not. But
I'll have him on a couple teams next week probably.
can I talk about Alex Henry real quick? This
You
he
get
should-
like 20 seconds to talk about a kicker.
No, I should have as much time as
We
I
know,
want, Renee.
but-
God, people are upset about Alex Henry underperforming. He sucks. Like, everyone knows Alex Henry sucks.
So he's performing at expectation.
He is. He is. And it's funny. Someone had tweeted at me yesterday saying, like, he was one of the best college kickers. Maybe Davis could back this up. He was one of the best college kickers there is. Like, apparently he was great in college. But he's not a good field goal kicker. He has zero distance. He can't. I'm sure you'll love this. His nerves can't handle it, dude. The guy has no confidence left. He can't. It's just the truth. And if you don't think the confidence and nerves has something to do with field goal kicking, you're crazy. You're crazy. He stinks. He shouldn't be on a roster. That's all I have to say.
That was great. That was like
Dan
22 seconds.
Bailey though.
Perfect.
Dan Bailey though.
Yeah.
Clutch.
And Carpenter.
And Carpenter, right?
Yeah,
that-
I mean, hey, can we talk about Narrative Street and how Narrative Street had like a shitty week? Narrative Street got destroyed.
Did you
Wait,
see someone in
which
chat
one?
said Fantasy Lane is just off of Narrative Street? After somebody in chat
Oh
said,
yeah, I saw that. No, Narrative Street got killed this week though. Cause Demaryius's game was deemed by the CEO of Narrative Street as not being a narrative game, and the
Which
Peyton
game?
the Demaryius's huge game yesterday. Peter Jennings said it was not Narrative Street. He
You
ruled
think it was?
I don't know. I don't think anything is Narrative Street, so I have to ask Kyle and Peter. So.
It exists.
Oh, Greg Olson though. Greg Olson did kill. Greg
Yeah.
Olson, but Alex Smith,
yeah,
Kaepernick, Kelsey, Nile, they all had terrible games.
Yeah, but I
right.
think that
birthdays. Who else's birthday was it?
Niall Davis and Travis Kelsey.
Oh, no.
But I don't know, man. I don't think going up.
I
What?
take it back. Peter Jennings said that it is not Narrative Street because it was his second game against the Bears.
I know you just said it. That Pete said it wasn't Narrative Street.
I was talking about Demaryius's game.
Oh, gotcha.
It was.
Oh, hold on. That game was that was in Carolina, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay. See, if that game was his first in Chicago, might be singing a different tune here.
But
Well,
but
no,
it works, so it counts.
but Peter and Kyle ruled that second game doesn't count as Narrative Street.
Second game counts as Narrative Street if it's the first one in the city
the
you used
old-
to play in. Come on, let's
Yeah.
get real here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand any of it, but
Oh, I do. I don't think it exists for baseball though.
well, no, baseball doesn't even.
Hey, dude, you'd be surprised.
The family is
Unless
a
you're Derek
baseball
Jeter.
game. I don't know.
Let me tell you what is real. Narrative Street exists in NBA.
Yes, it does. Of course.
Yeah.
Narrative Street definitively exists in NBA because NBA is because of the way the games are scheduled.
It's
It's
an
an effort. It's an effort thing.
Well, you have to also, yeah. Well, also, if you're somebody like LeBron James, you know the ball's going to be in your hands the entire game. You can't tell me the narrative has nothing to do with it. That's why with baseball, it's completely irrelevant But yeah, Davis, absolutely. Look, could you legitimately tell me that when LeBron James went back to Cleveland, that you weren't thinking, all right, he's going to destroy him?
Oh no! With players that good, Narrative Street doesn't matter at all.
Yes, it does.
No,
In
Narrative Street
Cleveland,
doesn't matter
go
at all.
look at every time he's played in Cleveland since he left Cleveland. Go look.
I'm sure it's been very good because he's
No,
a
but-
very good player.
No.
Because he has those good games all the time.
No, the averages are significantly better than all of his season averages. Significantly better.
Yeah. Okay. So I need to make a point right now. I don't believe it exists for good players. Who I think it exists for are like sort of fringe players who you might roster, you might not. If there
De'Mari
is,
Carroll or
something like that.
Jimmy Butler or somebody like that.
Yeah. And also, Dan makes an excellent point. The Cavs sucked.
Yeah.
The Cavs were so bad.
Of course they were. It doesn't matter if
You know
they
what? I'm
suck.
recanting my statement. I don't believe in Narrative Street for basketball either.
No,
I don't want to believe
no,
in Narrative Street.
No,
Okay, you don't have to.
no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You don't have to. All right, let me ask two specific football questions. One is, are you fully all on board with Arian Foster going forward?
Well, if he's healthy, of course. He's a great
He
football
is.
player.
So,
And
yeah.
he's going to get all of the time. He gets so many carries. Like, whenever Arian Foster's healthy and he's on the field, there's no reason not to play him because he's going to get the full workload.
Yeah, that was one guy I couldn't believe I didn't have on any of my million.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
It was
me too.
stupid.
Me too.
But I just don't trust him when he has like 8 carries for 6 yards in the game before.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
If you're good going forward.
But like, obviously, he's gonna get hurt soon. Like his hammy's gonna pull up lame again. Like that's obviously gonna happen.
Right. And the other one is what to do in Denver. What do you think?
What do you mean?
Hillman,
Were they against the
Hillman,
Jets?
C.J. Anderson,
I mean,
Hillman.
Thompson,
It looks
Hillman.
like it's going to be Hillman.
I don't know. Cecil Lammy was tweeting that the only reason Anderson was inactive was because they wanted an extra corner because the Cardinals use a ton of like multi-wide receiver sets, I guess. So CJ still might be a thing. I think they all suck. They're like my bet.
There's not enough talent, right?
My bet would be on Juwan Thompson if I was betting on one of them because he's the best in my model. But
Yeah, but if C.J. Anderson
not
was
gonna
inactive because they wanted another quarter, it doesn't mean much because it would have been another one of these guys inactive if they were at the bottom of the depth chart.
if you remember, Noshawn Moreno was inactive a ton the year before he started because
Yeah, no, you're right.
John
they're
Fox
difficult
believes-
to predict.
John Fox believes in running back roles. Like he has this guy plays this role, this guy plays this role. Money Ball goes out. Ronnie Hillman stays in his role. Juwan Thompson stays in his role. Then we just shuffle in C.J. Anderson to play the Money Ball role. That way, it doesn't change the whole offense to have to move positions just to accommodate one player.
Fair.
Yeah, but I actually agree. I won't play him against the Jets. I will play Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas and Julius Thomas. How hilarious is it that Emmanuel Sanders still can't score while everyone else in that offense keeps scoring? Everybody gets touchdowns except for him.
Yeah, it's
And Andre Caldwell.
Well, Andre Caldwell wasn't even active in this game.
what Davis is saying that Emmanuel Sanders has like 8 catches a game and doesn't score.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's not very good. But
I know, because he's bad.
you know who he is, Renee?
Who?
He's Blair White.
Hold on, what does not scoring have to do with not being good?
Like he's not.
How many red zone targets does he get?
I think he has 9.
Oh, okay, he's not good. No, but I mean, a lot of these guys, like Wes Welker had several years where he would never score. You know, he'd finish the year with like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Welker never had 10 touchdowns in a season until he came to Denver.
Yeah, and Witten was a top tier tight end for a while. He would never score.
Yeah, that's just because the Cowboys have always ran the dumbest red zone. Whatever, they're 4-1. I'm in. I'm ready for this team to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, stop. I mean, they're playing well, but the Super Bowl, seriously?
Seahawks have nothing on DeMarco Murray.
First of all, DeMarco Murray's going to get injured because he's getting 73 touches a game. You know, the funny thing about him is he cannot stop fumbling, but he still puts up crazy numbers. It's like the fumbles don't hurt them.
Well, he just keeps fighting for extra yardage. He just won't go down.
Yeah, which can hurt you at times. Jason Avant syndrome.
Tonight's game is going to be pretty one-sided, you think?
Oh yeah.
I know Davis and I love Russell Wilson.
Washington is terrible.
I don't
So
think
bad.
it'll be. I
The
don't think
West
it'll.
Coast to East Coast. When did Seattle get there? Anyone know?
I haven't been following that. You're gonna have to send an email to info@narrativestreet.com.
This certainly will not be a blowout.
The West Coast to East Coast thing is real too, but I don't know if it's real on Mondays.
That
No,
thing is.
it's still real.
It is real.
Um,
East to West isn't though.
but still,
You know,
Washington is
you can't
terrible.
You cannot get jet lag going east to west.
Kirk Cousins is gonna get lit the f up. I hate to admit this, but I actually played the Seahawks in some tournament lineups. Like I'll normally like never do that, but I did like the Harvin Seahawks defense stack in a couple lineups.
Yeah, it's not going to be a blowout.
I have a Wilson Harvin stack. Seattle
Which is-
defense is gonna. What's my score in that lineup?
Yeah, no. What are your What's your projected score for this game, Davis and Renee?
Oh,
24-7.
I'll go higher than that.
Can I just cheat and say the Vegas total?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
No.
Well, I'm gonna guess 26-18.
See, I want a bigger margin than that. I'm going for what I want. I'm going to go 38-17.
38. Their
That's-
defense is going to need to
that's
score a lot. Okay, it's possible.
No,
If the
Russell Wilson
Seahawks-
is good.
He's
If the Seahawks score 38 points, the Sunday Million and the Millie Maker are gonna look a lot different.
Yeah.
Yes, they will. They only need to score 18, I think, to top first place in the Millionaire Maker, right?
The Seaman guy.
Defense. Yeah. Stinger, that guy.
I
Yeah,
just said Seaman because I wanted to say Seaman.
it's Sammy Knoll.
Seaman, no.
You know who Sammy Knoll
Seaman
is? The guy
Hall.
that won the perfect game like every day.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want him to win. I'm just joking. Was he winning it all the time?
He was winning it like every time I wrote it up. Yeah.
Wow, how about that? But yeah, anyway, I think it'll be 24-17. It's going to be closer than we think.
Someone in chat just said his buddy is the highest remaining Wilson Harvin combo, 162. I mean,
Okay,
the
so
prob- the
it
prob-
might finish with like 171.
Yeah. I think the way the teams that I would be looking out for would be the teams with
Marshawn Lynch.
Lynch. Yeah, I think Lynch is like I don't know. I would bet the over on his props probably. I guess I haven't seen them, but they might be. I'm assuming that the line is like 132 and a half rushing yards or something.
You think so?
I would bet the over on.
I was going to say 120. Yeah.
That's the thing about pairing Wilson with anyone is, A, Percy Harvin gets many of his yards from rushing the ball, and Russell Wilson doesn't throw the ball enough to really give you, like, he's been productive this year, but from a fantasy standpoint, he really isn't that productive. And I don't think he ever will be. I think he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's a Super Bowl.
He's like so safe week to week. Like he's never.
Yeah,
Yeah, I won't take that away from
24
him,
fantasy points a week.
but it's the Millionaire Maker. I thought we were talking about in the Millionaire Maker.
I don't know. He scored more points than fucking some of my quarterbacks did.
Like Drew Brees.
Yeah. Breeze
Roethlisberger.
is so tilting because you know he's getting that 300-yard bonus every week, but you also know he's going to take it away with 2 interceptions every week too.
Yeah,
Only
Wilson.
lately. No, you can only lately.
No, this year. Well, no, if he's on the road, and this is just stats back it up, Davis. But no, if
No,
he's
he
on,
throws
Gotta
hella
defend everything you say.
interceptions.
Russell or Drew Brees has like an 86 to 17 touchdown to interception ratio at home since 2011, and then it's like 48 to 24 on the road. That's crazy. Like half the touchdowns, almost double the interception.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I got to go to do RotoViz Radio right now. I guess John Moore and Mike Clay are calling me right now.
Real cool, bud. Real cool.
Yeah, have a good one.
Okay. Love you guys.
Feel better, Davis. Get that voice back in shape.
Yeah, go Royals.
Gargle some.
What do you gargle?
Nothing.
Did you ever hear the like drink honey out of the bottle if you were drunk and going to bed and you wouldn't be hungover in the morning? I don't know why I just thought of
Is
that.
that just a
Honey
cruel
feels
trick?
Huh? I don't know. I used to do it in college all the time.
You know what else works for hangovers? Allegedly, coconut water.
After the fact, yeah.
It
yeah.
tastes so bad though. Coconut water is just foul.
I don't think I've ever done
Foul. Yeah. All right, Dave.
it. All right. Anything else? I think we're good.
Yeah, I think that you guys kind of covered it.
I love the Seahawks. I play the Monday Thursday slate every week because I love the small slates, and I'm all in Seahawks.
I love the small slates.
It's the only small thing. I got
Mm-hmm.
questioned about that
Oh.
the last time I said that.
Oh. Well then.
It's the one small thing
Okay.
in my life.
Well, thanks to Dr. Renee Miller for joining us on the Daily Fantasy Insiders TV show. Also, Dave Loughran. Dave, we just tweeted out that there's a new podcast schedule
Oh, yeah. Very exciting stuff.
where Stratford will be on tomorrow, and the only Natural Slugger will now be on Friday's podcast.
Yeah, and the reason for that is just to basically give you guys more college football information right before the actual day instead of having been. It worked on Tuesdays because we had baseball before. But now that baseball isn't here, it works out well. And then Davis and I will both be on Thursday morning for full NFL. And then Dan and I have it Monday through Wednesday. So that's what we got going here.
Very cool. And we had a question, is FI going to have any hockey content? The answer is yes.
And on the podcast as well. I got a couple guys we're going to be bringing in.
Yeah. So we'll be bringing, this is kind of what we want to do. We want to be in an all-stop shop, I guess, for all of your daily. Because daily fantasy is now to the point where if you can't get like the three major sports, you're still wanting some sort of action with
Right.
college football, college basketball, NHL, PGA, soccer, whatever. And so we want to help that itch that you have. We want to scratch that DFS itch that you
We do. I heard Fan Throwdown's making a strong push to get badminton as a daily fantasy sport, so we'll definitely be thinking about getting some of that content in as well. Should be exciting.
Well, that
EBL.
So yeah, so that's anything, race cars, whatever. We'll have
Race cars. Race cars, he calls it.
I should be
I know you're from the South. There's a name for it.
and NASCAR. Yeah,
NASCAR.
I'm from the South. I should know that.
What's a
You should.
shuttlecock?
All right, guys. Well, we
Don't
will talk to you tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're off because it's October. We will talk to you on Wednesday for the Player Show, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you then. Later.